Do you know what a podcaster is? A podcaster's role is to provide audio content. It's nothing without a listener. No one gives two shits who we are beyond that. But if you value us as podcasters, then we invite you to go to patreon.com/WassessCastProductions. For less than the cost of a bad breakup with Harley Quinn, you can support our show. Bonus episodes, early releases, and exclusive content just for you. Not as delicious as a breakfast sandwich, but hey, it'll do. Again, that's patreon.com/WassessCastProductions. Enjoy the show. Fine, you stuck with this show long enough. I'm going to tell you a secret, and you can't tell anyone. Did you know that this is the After Credits Cast, the only film podcast hosted by men that doesn't blindly give negative reviews to female-led films? Actually, there are probably more, but we're the one that really matters. I'm your host, AJ Wassesquin, and with me today, I've got Ryan Montoya.
I love it. Thank you so much. I love being an alcoholic detective. That's great.
I feel like that's a character you could roleplay very easily.
I really could. Ridiculous t-shirts and all.
If you enjoy our show, you can always follow us on platforms such as Google Play, Apple Podcast, Peepa, which I guess is Acast now. I've heard it's switched over to a new provider, and I feel bad I keep forgetting to mention that. Stitcher, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, and if you Google us, we're in a lot of other places. You can also find us on social media. That includes places such as Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, that's the other one, the one with the bird, and Patreon.com is the place you should go to see us the most. But if those don't work out for you, you can always email us directly for your comments, questions, or concerns. Ryan, what is that email?
That email is healthy relationship endings. Excuse me. Sorry. That's evacstation@gmail.com for the time being.
Indeed. I will eventually get that updated.
One day.
Let's start with today's film. We are starting a new season. We're done with Spider-Man. We're done with video games. Done with all that stuff this year. Probably. Today, we're doing a whole new type of season. Something we haven't done in this show at all. And I want to do more of this in the future. It is Ladies of Film. Films that are directed, starred by, or written. Is there anything else? Directed, written, starred? Yeah, that's a trifecta, basically. By ladies. Women of the industry. They don't get talked about enough, and I think they get stumped a lot in awards and discussions about what good films are, that I think it's time we shine a little light on them. And I know it's a little weird to start this season with a comic book movie, but hey, you know what? It fit the theme, and we wanted to do it anyway. And also on top of that, too, it's a good transition from what we were just at. So cut me some slack, guys. Cut me a little slack. Just a little bit. We'll be talking, of course, about 2020's Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn. It's just Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey. Directed by Kathy Yang and written by Christina Hodson. This film has gone on to make $188 million, which is just over twice what it cost.
Which makes me sad.
We'll dive into that a little bit, Ryan, because there's another film we already did this year that blew it out of the water, box office-wise, and I'm a little bummed by that. We'll get to it.
All right.
We'll have a nice, lovely cast featuring Chris Messina, Ella J. Basco, Journey Smollett-Bell, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Rosie Perez, Ewan McGregor, I always forget how you pronounce that one, and the screw-loose lead lady herself, Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie's fun.
She is. She's really good.
I have no award wins for this film, but I have a few nominations. So hopefully by the time this comes out, there'll have been some wins under their belt. So we'll jump over some fun facts.
All right. Well, we do have a couple of them for you today. Kathy Yan is the first woman to direct a superhero. The first Asian woman to direct a superhero movie. She is the second woman to direct a DC film after Patty Jenkins. So in the lead up to the amazing job that was Wonder Woman, we got Birds of Prey. And I think it's a worthy successor. I mean, at least, like, as far as box office numbers are concerned, maybe not, but I think in terms of quality,
Yeah,
definitely.
I would say so. I'm looking forward to seeing how this stacks up to other DC films when we get all said and done. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this compares to Patty Jenkins' return when we get to Wonder Woman 84 later this season.
Definitely. Right. Next up, Margot Robbie pitched the idea of Birds of Prey to DC and Warner Brothers as a female-led superhero action movie, and they agreed with her vision. Quote unquote, I think there's a perception that PG female-led action films is kind of considered a chick flick, says Robbie, which is why we're going to see an R-rated version of the story. In addition to starring in the upcoming movie, Robbie is also on board as producer with her Lucky Chap production company, so her hands are all over this project. Now, Birds of Prey is Lucky Chap's largest production to date at $75 million.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, last but not least, when Renee Montoya is in her apartment, her television is playing a clip of an episode from a daytime soap opera, The Days of Our Lives, and featuring an actress named Arlene Sorkin. Arlene Sorkin was the original voice of Harley Quinn in Batman the Animated Series. This specific clip is what inspired writer Paul Dini to create the character of Harley. That is a great bit of deep lore.
Mm-hmm. Can I just say one more time, too? I know I'll say it many times in this series, but fuck, man. Batman the Animated Series did so much right. And introducing Harley into our lives is number one on that list for me.
It really did. Oh, man. Like, we could have a whole season on Batman the Animated Series. Honest to God, that shaped so much of my childhood.
Yep, that, if we're going to do all sorts of different TV shows, that one, I think Avatar Easy is another one we could discuss pretty deep. Justice League is a good one. There's a lot of good cartoons out there that don't get enough credit, man. They just do not. Let's get some initial thoughts. Knock that real quick. So I wasn't sure going into this one because I really wasn't sure what I was going to step into. I think it was good, as I couldn't really set expectations for it, but coming out, it was a fun female-led, like, alternative to something like Deadpool. But I'm really down for this, if this is what DC's going to commit to, like, more loony shit like this. Like, we've had a lot of this grim, dark stuff they've done for a while, and it's okay, and it didn't work for a few films, and now it's like, okay, let's give each film a personality. And this one, it's kind of bursting with personality, it seems.
I like that. My initial thoughts kind of echo it a bit. When we originally saw Suicide Squad, Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, aka Harleen Quinzel, was the pinnacle of the fucking movie. So when I heard that they were doing a Birds of Prey all around her character and other female superheroes, I was like, okay, this should be fantastic. Because she proved that she has the comedic chops. She can do the funny, like, manic Harley Quinn bit, but she can also add the depth that the character also has behind it. So I had some pretty high expectations going in, and I feel like it succeeded them. It was definitely different than I envisioned it, although I couldn't really get a good grasp of what I thought I was going to have going into it. I just thought it was going to be good. And I thought it was fantastic. I had a blast, and it was very different from anything else I've seen. So I think that is a success in and of itself.
Kind of like Shazam almost. Like, it's something different enough from the mainstream superhero films that it feels more refreshing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. I'm gonna go deeper into that when we get to the discussion, because I think DC's doing some good stuff if this is the trend.
I think they've started turning things around since Aquaman, and it's refreshing to see that. Mm-hmm. But we'll dive deeper into that. By the way, this is a stealth Crisis in Infinite Films episode, so watch out. Synopsis, here we go. We get backstory to Harley Quinn's character as she takes us up to when she breaks up with the Joker, or the other way around. She doesn't really make it clear. She attempts to move on, but everyone seems to think she'll get back with him in no time at all. Tired of the naysayers, she runs a truck into the Ace Chemical, where she became Harley Quinn, and sends a message to the world that she and Joker are no longer an item, and that, well, it puts a target on her back. Every cop wants to catch her, everyone she's wronged wants to seek revenge, and Black Mask wants her dead. Meanwhile, a crossbow killer is targeting various men tied to the murders of the Bertinelli family. Not important. It's a B story. You'll get to it later, in the third act. But the family also has a diamond with the Konami code, which Black Mask wants because he needs this movie needs a plot MacGuffin to get the plot rolled along. The diamond itself is eaten by a child pickpocket who doesn't seem to fully grasp what she's stolen. She's arrested for stealing, which is more or less how the gang gets together. Black Mask hires both Canary and Harley Quinn, separately of course, to get the girl and retrieve this diamond. Harley wants it for herself to buy her out of this shitty life. Canary wants to protect the girl, and Montoya, the cop, wants all these bitches under arrest. That seems fair. That seems fair. After some well choreographed action scenes, Harley tries to get Cass, the pickpocket, to poop out the diamond before Black Mask gets them. They're betrayed, and Harley decides it's time to end this. She calls out Black Mask and offers to meet him and his crew at Amusement Mile, which I really appreciated that one. He sends Black Canary and his right hand, Zaz, to get it. Zaz learns of Canary's plan to betray Black Mask, and he tries to kill her for it. He is shot by the crossbow killer, who finally becomes relevant to the main plot. Also, the cop is there. The girls try to figure out who is who and what's going on, but Black Mask brought an army with him to Amusement Mile to end this and to get his diamond. Fighting happens, a car chase follows, and we end with Black Mask getting blown up by a grenade, almost by accident. Girls get the diamond out of Cass, but Harley and Cass go their separate ways, and the other three girls form the Birds of Prey. Roll credits. See you next time for Gotham City Sirens, whenever that comes out. I don't know if you heard about this, Ryan, but they're apparently doing a trilogy of Harley Quinn, which includes Suicide Squad, this, and Gotham City Sirens. I don't know if this also includes Gunn's Suicide Squad. I assume they'll explain more of that when we get there.
But I want more of these. I want a trilogy that starts with Birds of Prey, like not starting with Suicide Squad.
You just want to forget Suicide Squad exists.
No, it's not that I want to forget Suicide Squad exists. It's just I want a trilogy of movies around this group, around this cast, because they're really, really cool, and I want to go forward in time to when fucking the pickpocket becomes Batwoman? What?
She becomes Batgirl, as far as
Batgirl,
I know.
yeah.
I don't think she becomes full-on Batwoman, but I might be wrong.
I mean...
I will say this, though, Ryan. This film did disappoint me a little bit, because Suicide Squad won an Academy Award, if you recall. And where is my Killer Croc? He should have been here. He could have elevated this movie to a whole other level, but we don't have the best makeup in town with Killer Croc. And we just have all these ladies, which I'm appreciative. All these ladies are cool. But none of them are wearing this fucking intense makeup. Hours of award-winning makeup right here. Where are they? Where is he? When's he gonna get his own movie?
I don't think they could afford the actor's salary. He was the highest paid on the set. I'm just making that up, but that's fine.
I was gonna say I don't think he's gonna out money Will Smith. Let's be real.
That is a blatant fucking lie. But don't worry about it. It makes for good podcasting.
But yeah. So Ryan, what did you think overall? I know we're already gushing a little bit, but what do you think?
I really liked it. I liked it because it is a solid film, but I like it because it's so different. I like it because it follows Harley's zany, fucking crazy train of thought. I love her doing the narration over it. The comical fucking the comical overlays that appear whenever somebody is introduced into the movie, including side characters that just have beef with her. Every single time that happened, it was hilarious to me. But every single thing stood out as different. It was well done, it was really fun, and it was so different than other comic book movies I've seen. This shows me that there's still a lot that can be done with the comic book genre. So I really, really enjoyed this.
Yeah, so like what I mentioned earlier, with everything changing since Aquaman, I think DC, I wouldn't say they've learned. I don't think they're out of the woods yet. I think there's still some growing pains they're going to get through.
Yeah.
But I think they've mostly learned what works and doesn't work. And I think the number one lesson they may have learned, especially with Wonder Woman being their first main example, is letting the directors do what they do best, and letting each film feel like its own unique voice. So, with Aquaman, you had this big, sci-fi-esque fantasy underwater epic. With Shazam, it's this fun, family, comedy, superhero-charged action film. With Joker, it's this darker, political piece that just kind of aims to take down the establishment almost, but not quite. It's a darker, but in slightly confusing film. And
it also has kind of like an art film feel to it, which is really different.
You have this, which goes for the Deadpool approach. I'm just summarizing. It's essentially DC's Deadpool, and I think in the comics they've even kind of made Harley Quinn like that, so it's not out of place to say so. And with Wonder Woman 2, they're going for a Thor Ragnarok style, like 80s epic glam rock level action, and I'm excited for that. That'll be fun. I don't know what's coming down the road after that. We know James Gunn's going to do Suicide Squad, which will hopefully be as fun as Guardians of the Galaxy, but have its own unique flair to it. We also have... What else is on the docket for... The Batman, sorry. That's coming down the road, and it's supposed to be more of a detective film, from what I understand, but we don't know enough until it comes out. We've only seen him in the costume, and that doesn't tell us much, so... they're trying to nail down who is where and what tone and what style they're going to be in. And I think they're taking the Marvel approach to another level. I don't think they're going to beat them yet, but for me, Marvel... I know I'm talking a lot, so I'll stop in a minute. But
no,
but,
I am going to be the last person that says you talk too much, dude.
But no, so in the Marvel films, we've already discussed that each film, to an extent, feels like its own genre. You have your spy films, you have your sci-fi space films, you have your fantasy epics, stuff like that. But when you really break them down, they all still follow a very similar formula. Not like the same, but they all definitely have a guideline they follow, and then they kind of stray away from it whenever it fits the film best. I think for the DC films, they're intentionally trying to start in a different place on all of them, and let them all be their own unique thing from beginning to end. And I think that's going to be their bread and butter, and I think that's gonna make the DCEU going forward worth talking about and worth seeing.
You hit the nail on the head. That is exactly what I was gonna bring up. No, it definitely feels that way. When you look at Marvel, the movies are fantastic. They take on different characters, and they all have their own unique bits to them, but you can tell there is an underlying formula underneath these movies. It works. They fine-tuned it. They're able to adjust it to fit each character that they're telling, each story that they're telling. They're able to adjust it and move it, but it's still around that single formula that they've been fine-tuning. Whereas DC is now starting to just do a lot of very different things and giving each of their properties a unique feel. So if they keep doing that, they're going to stand out from Marvel just based on uniqueness alone. And if they get uniqueness while also creating quality comic book movies, they're going to be able to stand toe-to-toe with them after a while. So it's nice that they've figured out, or at least they're starting to figure out, a way to combat Marvel without becoming Marvel. Because I don't think they can beat Marvel at their own game. They've already had, 15 years head start. If you're going to play the same game as Marvel, you're far too late. You're far too late. But if they do something different, they change the game up a bit, and they put out something new and interesting that's fresh, and it's not something that people are expecting, you're going to have a lot of people going to see these movies just because it's something different from Marvel. And if you get it different and good, well, then you've got a recipe for success there.
Mm-hmm. I think it helps when the movie does not shy away from its comic book origins. Mm-hmm. Not to call foul, but Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and to an extent Justice League, but I think that's, again, compromised directors, so we're not going to dive too deep into that one. But the Zack Snyder films in particular shied away from the comic book origins a bit. Like, they were... It's almost like when they were producing them and putting them together, kind of like the Dark Knight trilogy, again, to an extent, they were almost kind of afraid to let these really be comic book movies. They were more...
Yeah.
And thus the lighter tones, the goofier stuff, the crazy lore, the costumes even, all of it had to be toned down or shifted in a way to feel more real, to be more realistic. And while there is a place for those kinds of approaches, I don't think it necessarily works all the time. And I think it's not a paint you can put on every DC hero. Batman can kind of get away with it every time, but Superman, the Flash, none of them could. Their powers are so extraordinary and weird and silly that trying to do so just comes off as weird.
Yeah. I mean, like, there is something to be said for trying to lend an air of realism to comic book movies, because it hadn't been done before Christopher Nolan's trilogy. And like you said, Batman can kind of get away with that because Batman's entire setting is dark and gritty and just mired in tragedy, so that's just where he lives. That's Gotham fucking City for you. But also because it was helmed by Christopher Nolan, and it's Christopher Nolan. Like, he's gonna do good. So the Dark Knight trilogy, while I absolutely adore them, kind of stand alone. And trying to replicate that similar dark, gritty feeling for the rest of the DC characters, not gonna get a lot of traction. I appreciate the attempt with Man of Steel, but ultimately, like you said, it missed a lot of the colorful and fun nature of those comics. If you try to make everything on the same darkness level or realism level as Batman, then your whole thing is going to come out very gray, very muted tones, very serious, and people go to comic book movies to have fun. Like, you can have serious bits in comic book movies, 100%, but you can't also not have fun.
So going on that, I'm going to jump ahead to a question, and then we'll talk more specifically about this film, but we can get a little off topic here.
Cool.
Where do you think this takes place in the DCEU, as Warner is shifting and changing what is and isn't canonical anymore?
Dog, I don't even fucking know.
Because it's not clear, is it?
It's not clear. And I feel that it is intentionally unclear. It's intentionally vague because I believe they may not entirely know what they're going to do with their cinematic universe as of yet. I think right now they're trying to take each movie individually and seeing where it goes. But they're trying to leave it feels like they're trying to leave the stories self-contained enough to be solid in and of its own self, but the edges of the movies are vague enough that you can really put it anywhere. Mm-hmm. And that's smart. If you don't have a Kevin Feige, if you don't have a team that is piecing together this epic movie saga that's going to take 15 years to tell, but it's going to be one of the masterpieces of our time. If you don't have that, but you want to start building to that, this is what you do. You make movies that can stand alone by themselves, but can also fit into whatever framework you decide to land on. Mm-hmm. So I think it's smart that they're doing that. They're focusing on one movie at a time, and that's a great place to begin.
This brings it to a follow-up question. Sort of. Ryan, have you been keeping up on the Flash TV show at all?
Very generally. I have not gotten to watch those shows, but I understand they just went through Infinite Crisis, that they're all down to, I believe, two universes, like the Prime universe and then like one other universe.
So, did you hear about the the scene in at the end of an episode of Flash after the crisis was over?
Yep, where he met himself. Yeah,
where he met Ezra Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what do you think that implies going forward? Because if I'm going to be honest, I think that's Warner Brothers saying, "Listen, we fucked up. We'll erase everything that happened and start over," while also continuing what we did.
I mean, it's. I think it is a nod to the people who have been screaming at Warner Brothers that, hey, you dumbasses, you've got a really good universe set up in your TV stuff. Why are you not using them on the big screen? I think it's a nod to those people that have been saying that. It is a potential tie-in because the movie universe was not referenced at all, to my knowledge, in Crisis on Infinite Earths. So all of a sudden we're alluding to another universe that nobody even knew existed. That's going to start bleeding through. It gives the TV universe something to look forward to, something to work towards, and it might be the eventual nod. It might be like the reluctant nod that eventually they're going to start combining the two Universal mediums.
God, can you imagine Grant Gustin next to Gal Gadot in a future Justice League movie?
I could. I mean, he's boss. He's been the Flash for fucking what, 7 years now?
It seems like forever, but like, yeah, that'd be so cool. I want to see it.
That would be really cool. Like, and I mean, hell, they unfortunately had to let Stephen Amell go, but they had a wonderful Green Lantern Green Lantern. Wow, they had a wonderful Green Arrow. I saw the clip on YouTube how they're finally working the whole John Diggle. His surname is actually Stewart, and he finds something green that fell to the ground. I'm just like, all right, guys, if we're gonna do this, let's do it right. So they have the makings of a full universe on their TV series, and I think they're finally gonna start using that because they have a lot of people watching that already.
I want to ask how the TV show on the CW, with the budget it has, is doing so much better than the movies. But I think it answers itself. Like, they have more time. They have a wider audience they can hit with it being on just a basic TV channel. Like, I don't understand why Warner is not capitalizing on this harder than they could be.
So, like, the one thing, or like one of the blocks that I could see is that they don't want to make it so that people feel like they have to watch 8 seasons of a show in order to go watch the movie, which is understandable, but I also think it's a waste of talent. If you've got these guys doing really, really, really good work, they're gonna do really good work on the big screen as well, so they should work towards that. But I think it's exactly what you said. They have more time, more like writers to write entire seasons of story, and which will hit a wider audience that doesn't need to pay a ticket fee in order to go see the next installment. They can watch it week after week after week.
Well, here's what you do to avoid that whole 8 seasons of shit problem. When you start your movie, as you know, Ryan, there's opening credits. It shows you, like, you know, the names of the people who are in it. Mm-hmm. Do exactly, we just saw this in the past season, do exactly what the Sam Raimi trilogy did, and just show still images or clips as the credits are rolling of the Flash's various adventures. You don't have to show every bit, but like just show the highlights. Show him fighting Zoom, show him fighting Reverse Flash, show him fighting the third season villain. Fuck him, I don't know who he is. The Thinker, the one from this last season, who I've not seen yet, so I'm not going to get into that one. But just show the highlights, show some of the love, the tragedy, all that stuff, and then, voiceover into your film saying, all right, well, I'm here, the Flash is back, baby, and you've seen where I've been before, so let's see where we go this time, or some bullshit like that, and just jump into a bigger, grander adventure that eventually ties into Superman proper, Wonder Woman proper, etc., etc., because I think that'd be the simplest way to do it, without having to blow your budget on, a, bigger, redoing of those characters and redoing of those events in the live action, in the full movie. So
I think so, too.
Thank you, Sam Raimi, for giving us another great idea. Fucking masterful. It's been 31 minutes. Let's talk about Harley Quinn.
Yeah, we can do that, sure.
So Ryan, a concern I had going into this one was the Jack Sparrow effect, where you take a comical character from a group movie or a ensemble cast and try to spin them off into their own film. So we kind of had that with Harley Quinn. She spun off from Suicide Squad to do this. Do you think she can carry her own film just fine, or do you think there's a struggle going on there?
I don't think this particular movie was a struggle, but I also think it's because they did the wise thing and didn't have the movie rest solely on Harley Quinn. Yes, she is, the protagonist, but she's also, one of the many protagonists, because eventually it is an ensemble film. I think she in and of herself is a strong character. I'm not certain how much mileage we can get with just Harley Quinn, which is why I really like that they decided to make it an ensemble film, so she can carry a lot of it, but also we built a story that's kind of around her, that can involve her, incorporate it, but also revolve around other characters as well, so they can carry the weight. And then eventually you have the story resting on the group rather than just her. I think that was smart to pull it that way.
I can agree with that one quite a bit. Speaking of supporting characters, Ryan, which ones stood out to you and why?
So I really liked Black Canary. Because I think she's gorgeous. Because I think she's a great character. I like this take on Black Canary. I like the idea of her mother originally being a superhero, and then when her daughter sees her get gunned down in the street. Spoilers. And she develops this hatred for the police that did nothing to help her when she gave her life to help them. She grows up on the streets and gets embroiled into crime, but eventually wants to really do the right thing. I think that's a good motivation for a character. I think the actress really did a fantastic job of kind of giving everything she did that underlying beat of resentment and kind of, I want to say, frustration or frustrated defeat or something like that. It's a very subtle thing that she does with it, where she's pretty much given up, but there's a part of her that still keeps fighting, and it just kind of turns her sullen until she's actually working to help people, and then she starts to come more alive. I really like that they did that.
Yeah. I think I'm on the same page. I definitely think that Black Canary is the one that stands out for me as your supporting cast. Montoya's not bad, but I do think that the gimmick of, oh hey, she speaks like she's from an old 80s cop film.
That was fun.
It's not the strongest characterization. It's fun, but it's not the strongest characterization.
For me, Montoya felt like one of the characters that actually had her finger on the pulse for the majority of the movie. It's just the whole she talks she's out of a bad 80s cop film was just a fun kind of side effect of it.
Oh yeah.
Her role was the the no nonsense, can we get this shit done, like, role, and...
Oh yeah, she's your Rorschach / question character, basically.
Right,
well, she
right.
becomes a question, so that's obvious, yeah. So
Right. Now, bonus, though, I love the small bit that they did with Huntress. Because they built her up to be, like, this badass killer, and then she shows up, and they're like, yeah, so she's devoted the last 15 years of her life to, like, mastering the killing arts, but the rest of it, she doesn't really know how to be a person yet, guys. I'm sorry. And they lean into it. They lean into it so hard, and I love it. It's such a great joke because she definitely brings the combat firepower to the team. And then when the rest of them try to be her friend, she's like, I think you kick good. It's delightfully awkward.
like, I'll say the only one that really doesn't work for me is probably Cassandra Cain's character, and only because she's sort of like just the MacGuffin delivery device, more or less. Like, if she could have gotten more to do, that would have been great, but I don't think they really gave her enough room to do anything. So I can't really blame him for that one, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
She feels like the character that will get to do more stuff in the follow-up film. Because yes, she's younger than everybody. Yes, she is a kid that's a talented pickpocket, but she absolutely got in over her head. And even the final big action piece is like essentially all... Damn it, Mike and essentially rhyme. What the fuck? All four of her big sisters, like, passing her around and protecting her from this army of, like, jacked up meatheads. So I thought, like, it was fun to pair her with Harley because then you essentially give Harley an in-movie audience to really, like, bounce her shit off of, and having her, like, become Harley's apprentice at the end, I thought was fun and just like a great way so that Harley didn't have to be alone, but it also meant that she didn't have to lean on a significant other. Like, it got to really nip that codependency in the bud because it also gave her somebody to look after and somebody to teach. So I thought that was fun. I thought they got the most out of her that they possibly could, being that Cassandra Cain is a child and can't really do shit in this movie except get into trouble.
Speaking of codependency, let's jump to this question real quick. Whether or not it would have been Leto or Joaquin, do you think this film suffered from not having the Joker appear at all? And same question, but for Batman, I guess. Do you think their appearance or lack thereof would have impacted this movie in a positive or negative way?
No. I 100% agree with the exclusion of both of those characters because it needed to be Harley's movie and the rest of the cast's movie. If you put either of those two characters in, they steal focus. And I love Batman and I love seeing the Joker, but the crux of Harley's story is getting over the fact that they're broken up and learning how to live without him. If you have him show up in the movie, I feel like that undermines the basis of her story. So I 100% agree with excluding those two.
Fair enough. Let's see, let's go back here. Speaking of villains, let's talk about Black Mask real quick. Do you think Black Mask is a noteworthy villain for Harley to take down? Why or why not?
I don't know if noteworthy is the word I would use.
Okay.
I love Ewan's role. I love his portrayal of this. He knocked it out of the park.
He chews up that scenery really good.
It's so good. I love that his take on Black Mask essentially gets to be a stand-in for the entitled male masses. and he gets blown the fuck up by a bunch of women. I love that shit. I love that Ewan essentially just got to go nuts. He was so outlandish, it almost felt like a Joker stand-in. And
I think that was
okay.
the intention. I think it was actually the intention.
I think that might have been the intention as well. Not like, as I said it, I was like, yes, Ryan, that's fucking obvious. Yes, he was the Joker stand-in. Which is good. It was a way for them to have their cake and eat it too. You get to do a slightly lesser known Batman villain in Black Mask. You get to have a ridiculously zany villain to bounce against the ridiculously zany protagonist that is Harley Quinn and her group of misfits that just do whatever the fuck ever. So I think it was a good fit, and it kept the male parts of the movie from stealing the focus, because the focus is the group of ladies on this, and I love that.
I guess we'll transit. Well, you're giving me some good transitions here. So speaking of,
I tried.
Speaking of the male perspective and female feminism and all that stuff, what do you think this film's take on feminism and female empowerment? And do you think this film projects an image of male inferiority?
I 100% agree with the male inferiority bit. Absolutely. The main male presence in the movie is Black Mask and Zaz, which Chris Messina, I absolutely did not expect him in this movie. I didn't know he was actually in it. I know him from The Newsroom, which is a brilliant cable sitcom written by Aaron Sorkin, and it's fantastic. I watched him in that, and it was wonderful, and this is completely different from that. But he got to also choose scenery with the best of them, and that was hilarious. But these two guys, like all of the male perspectives in the movie, I'm trying to rethink just to make sure I'm not talking out of my ass there. But the major male characters in the movie all kind of symbolize like these really shitty things about men in society. You know, the entitlement, the sense of ownership and just being like fucking outright creepy, the lack of dependability, the sense of predatory nature. It's like all of these guys were stand-ins for that horrible, horrible shit, and seeing a group of imperfect women overcome this was really good, at least in my opinion. Because too many movies you can have the guys be horrible and the women be absolutely flawless people that have no problems whatsoever, and they overcome a cruel, cruel world. But I think it's really, really good that all of the women in this movie have notable problems.
Yep.
And they work together to overcome their collective bullshit and the bullshit that's being thrown on top of that. I think that's important.
Well, so I bring this question up specifically because as I was looking through my IMDb for research to fill out the notes for this, a chain of reviews came up, all of which were, well, not all of which, but a large section of them repeated one after another. Basically said the same thing about how, and I'm going to use my internet voice here, oh, this movie is all about women being perfect and men all being violent idiots. How could this movie possibly be any good? And, I have to say that what you say sums up my opinion pretty good, in that the women in this movie aren't perfect. I mean, one's a lunatic criminal. The other one is an assassin with no social skills. The other one is a drunk who, admittedly, is undermined by her what do you call it? Partner and her chief male figures as well. And then you have Black Canary, who doesn't necessarily have a specific flaw, but she's just in this world due to family and due to just life situations. And one could argue that just being that in this situation she's in is kind of her flaws, that she didn't find a better way to live her life. You could argue that's her flaw.
I think Black Canary is just fed up. She's just like, I don't fucking know. Like, fine, I'll do what it takes to survive, and that's really all I got right now. So
yeah, and yeah, a lot of the men here are violent and are arguably dumb, but at the same time, though, no one here is without flaw. No one's here without sin. Everyone's got some issues, some baggage they're coming in with. And let's not forget, there is one positive male figure here, the guy who makes the breakfast sandwich. So obviously, those people didn't watch the movie, because otherwise they would have known, oh hey, Saul, the guy who made the breakfast sandwich, he's flawless. Men are fine. Not all of them, but at least some of them are. Therefore, your argument's insane. But taking it a step further, is there anything about Harley Quinn herself that you think represents an aspect of feminism worth talking about? Or do you think it's more the female united front that is what they're kind of shooting for here?
Well, I should have premised this whole thing by saying I don't know a lot about feminism. So, if you want to tell me what an ass I'm making of myself, please reach out to us. I'd be more than happy to talk to you guys about it. But that being said, I think the concept of Harley having to adjust to being by herself is a big message. Because when you think of society, like in the past and largely in the past and in the more recent past, now that I say it as well, the concept is that women can't exist without men. That women are there to serve men, as say Harley Quinn, and who are nothing without a master. And it's interesting that the moment she declares herself free from said master is the moment that the entire world turns on her. I think that's a very blatant, I think that's a very blatant indictment of society's take on feminism, and how as soon as a woman declares herself a feminist, automatically these negative thoughts and connotations are ascribed to her, when it's really just her owning her own shit and wanting to make her mark on the world and not wanting other people to attack her simply because she has the audacity to be herself. So if there was one major feminist take I could see, that's the big one for Harley in my mind.
Well, and to take it a step further on top of that, I think you're hitting the nail on the head pretty damn hard. I really do like that. But take a step further, it might just even be not so much like a woman declaring herself feminist, but a woman just declaring herself separate from a man, not needing to be with a man.
Yeah.
Because we're watching a show, Amanda and I are watching a show called Outlander. And in an episode recently they came across where it's got some time travel and shenanigans involved, but basically the woman comes back to the main lead. She comes back from the past and tries to live her life and makes the decision to become a physicist, or not physicist, but a physician. That's what it is. And goes to school for it. Well, she's the first and only woman in the class, along with the one and only black man in the class. Mm. And the rest of the class and the teacher are just giving him this weird look, like, how dare they jump in on this profession? Why are they wasting time being a part of this world? And it's like, it's. I feel like what you're saying is true, but it applies to a much broader sense of women just declaring independence and declaring that they can do what a man does on their own. And Harley, in a sense, is doing that. She's declaring that, hey, I don't need Joker to make a movie. I don't need Joker to be a part of my story. I am making my own story. I'm making my own movie. Here I am. Let's make it happen.
Okay. I like that. And I've been recommended this movie, this show Outlander by Allegra as well. So it's definitely something I want to check out. But I definitely see where you're coming from there, and it definitely rings true with what I'm feeling out of Birds of Prey as well. So yeah.
Yeah. I also do not know much about feminism. Like, I know the basic tenets of it, basically just women are equal to men, or in some cases superior. And, I get it. So that's the most tenet I can take of. I know there's various factions. I know there's various different takes on it, depending on who you are, where you're from, all that stuff. So I know I'm giving a very blanket, very, very broad statement, but just making that clear for everybody. So last two questions I got for you, Ryan. Let's see. Let's start with this one. Did you ever see the Harley Quinn animated show from the DC Online or DC Universe?
No, I haven't gotten to watch it. I keep seeing like clips of it, but it's something I definitely want to check out.
So at our show, they had a pre-roll for the movie, and like they did when we saw Zombieland, and they showed clips from the show for the Harley Quinn show. And I left my ass up, and I'm thinking to myself, why the fuck have we not seen this show yet? And I'm like, oh wait, it's on the DC Online thing, or DC Universe thing. No wonder I haven't seen it yet. But it looks fucking hilarious. I actually really want to check that shit out. It looks pretty good.
It looks good. It looks like graphic, which I love. I definitely want to see that.
I loved it too, because I never get to hear Joker like full on go like I never get to hear Joker swear very much. Like, I'm used to him in like the cartoon show and the movies kind of being watered down just enough so kids can still enjoy it. So I loved it when they're doing this one bit from an episode where Harley's like on a like reality, not reality, but like a talk show, Dr. Phil kind of thing, and all these different villains are there with her and Batman, and then Joker just stomps in, going like, "What the fuck, Harley?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know why that got me, but I loved it. That's great." Okay, last question, and this is going back to the box office numbers. Do you feel the R rating of this film impacted its box office performance, and then why or why not?
I don't think the rating impacted its performance. I think if anything impacted its performance, it was the marketing.
Okay.
I don't think the marketing was handled very well for me.
Explain.
Well, I was looking at what came out on the same day. We had Sonic the Hedgehog. We had
Sonic came out a week after, actually.
Did it?
Yeah. At least I know it did in our area, because we saw Harley Quinn the Wednesday before Sonic, because it was like the week it came out the weekend before, and it was like, oh hey, Wednesday's a cheat day. We'll watch it then, and then Sonic on Friday. So.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. I was reading that wrong. Okay. So in terms of in terms of things that came out around that, though, you had Sonic, you had Call of the Wild, I think a week after that.
Dude, Call of the Wild I saw was gonna like lose $50 million. Like, it did not do good.
Oh, that makes me sad.
I know.
Harrison Ford and a brave dog. But I can't remember seeing a lot, like a huge trailer presence on TV for Birds of Prey. I think especially with the very long title and then the eventual title change, I think they were kind of very reactionary in regards to the marketing of it, and I think if there was a weak spot in how this movie did, it was probably the marketing. I don't know who would be in charge of that, or if it just wasn't handled very well by Margot Robbie's production company, but I think if there was anything that held it back, it was probably that, because I don't remember seeing much of it leading up to the movie coming out.
I will say, I think Sonic coming out a week after did hurt it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And not that I'm blaming Sonic for it. I'm actually
Curse
surprised.
you, Sonic!
I'm actually surprised Sonic did as well as it did. Like, it made $200 million fucking fast. Like, that was no pun intended. But like, it did it really quick, and it's still holding pretty strong at the box office, which is weird for a video game movie of all things to be doing. But for it to throw Birds of Prey out the window like that is a little disheartening, because I think Birds of Prey is a better film overall. Like, I definitely think Sonic is going to have the broader appeal because it's lower rating, it's for kids, and you can bring more people to it. So it's, I think, part of the issue. I don't think Harley Quinn itself being R rating is bad, but I do think the timing and probably the marketing, like you mentioned, all tie into it just not getting there. I have to wonder if maybe there's a level of, like, support that the upper management, the studio, didn't give it that it could have used. Like, maybe just a better time slot or better budget for marketing. I don't know, but something somewhere did not click with general audiences, and it just went under the radar.
Yeah.
And maybe it's also the DC effect, you know? DC films have been very back and forth for a while, so people are... Because I know Shazam didn't do the best, but I know it did fine. But I know it didn't do the best, and I'm thinking, you know, we're still getting people to come back out to DC films. It's like, they've been burned enough, it's like, we don't want to do this. It's like, no, come back, guys, this is going to be fine, it's going to be great. Don't think about Suicide Squad, it's a different movie. Come on out.
Yeah, I think I still don't think it was the rating because Deadpool did fucking fantastic, and it was R-rated. So when I think of the differences between this movie and Deadpool, I think Marvel, I think Ryan Reynolds, and the name recognition of Deadpool entirely as well. But also, Deadpool was advertised, like, from here to Kingdom Come. Like, everybody knew that Deadpool was coming out. Everybody knew it was coming out on Valentine's Day. There were huge billboard ads with Deadpool marketing it as a romantic movie so that you can convince your girlfriend to go see it with you. There was an aggressive marketing scheme behind Deadpool, and it did fantastic. It paid off. Is it the only thing that attributed to it? Probably not. It's probably the fact that Harley Quinn before this was associated with Suicide Squad, which didn't do well. Probably because it was a DC film. Probably because also it wasn't marketed super aggressively. But yeah, I think a bunch of things happened to kind of hold it back. I don't think it's as much the R rating because this movie was absolutely not for kids.
Yeah. No, I've just seen that discussion thrown around a little bit, whether if it had been rated PG-13 would have done better. So I'm like, I'll pitch that out there, see what the thought is. But nah, I appreciate that. That's a good way to look at that. Yeah. That's all I've got for questions, Ryan. Is there anything I missed that you want to cover?
No, I mean, the big thing that I wanted to talk about, you talked about the very first thing, so I'm glad we were on the same wavelength.
You know, I try.
It's good, but I think, I wonder, like, I hope that the box office numbers don't downplay the accomplishment of this movie, which it seems kind of absurd that a movie that makes close to 200 million is considered not doing great in the box office. But
well, like we discussed last week with Amazing Spider-Man 2, you know, just because it makes 700 million does not mean that the studio executives are happy about it.
Yeah, which blows my fucking mind, but that's neither here nor there. But I think this is a wonderful movie. It was a lot of fun to go see. They were doing a lot of things right, and they did a lot of things different. If this is the continuing trend that DC is going to be looking for, having a unique feel on its movies and keeping it self-contained enough to stand on its own, yet vague enough to be slotted other places in, like, the grand scheme of things, I think if they hold to that, and if they trust in the creative direction of their goddamn directors, they can start pulling out some classics. And I'm here for it. I just want them to keep going.
Mm-hmm. And if you guys want us to keep going, you can follow us on Facebook, Tumblr, or Twitter.
Well
you can also email us directly. Ryan, what's that email?
Oh, god damn it. That email is Baby Batgirl. I'm still tripping out that the girl is going to be Batgirl. But anyway, sorry. That is evacstation@gmail.com.
And if you reach out to us on those platforms, you can give us comments, questions, or concerns, and we can read them on our exclusive patron, the Wazcast, where you can listen to us talk about upcoming stuff, respond to you, and just other weird shenanigans. I don't know what yet. We haven't really scheduled it out yet, because you need to fucking donate and be part of the patron. Do it, nerds.
If y'all want to school us on feminism too, I'd love to have those conversations with you guys. Please do so.
Indeed, I will tag everything related to this episode with feminism, and we'll see how many people bite on that one. So with that in mind, let's talk about the review for the film. As anyone who's a seasoned viewer of the show, we have platinum to shit and all the colors in between. There's a link somewhere in our description that tells you exactly what those rankings mean. Ryan, where would you rank this film?
I am going to rank this a strong silver. I had a lot of fun with this movie. I thought a lot of the concepts it tackled were very strong, very solid, but it was also really different and zany. It had me laughing 95% of the time. And I thought the various characters that they had in it were fun and unique in their own different way. And it came together to be a really great ensemble movie. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's required viewing for all cinema goers. But if you're in a comic book movie mood and you want to see a bunch of women kick ass, check this out. You'll laugh and watch some fun self-referential humor while they're beating people's brains in with baseball bats. Go nuts.
Yep. I'll have to concur with Silver. I don't think it's like your classic gold that'll be a movie you'll remember for ages. I think this will eventually be outshined by a sequel or something similar to that one. I think this is definitely a good groundwork for bigger, better things.
Definitely.
I think there's a lot of fun stuff happening here, and I think you're well within your right to check this out. It's worth a look. But you won't lose sleep if you miss it. I definitely think it's still something to check out, though. So Silver as well for me. Brian, are you ready to cut this episode and jump into another very colorful, very fun movie that did not make a lot of money at the box office?
Yes, I'm very ready for that. That's still a fucking crime to me, but fine.
Oh no, it's an awful crime, but yeah, if you guys know what we're talking about, you'll have already heard this episode by now. So yeah, we'll see you after the credits.
Bye.